the rise of the robots. You see, a whole world is starting to grow up with these new devices. Now, I'll take a poll in here, out of interest. How many people in here think that robots are going to take over the world? One. One? Really? Come on. Two. Okay, maybe. Only two of you. Have you seen this? Because every time I go on Facebook right now, I see these Boston Dynamics are sort of showcasing these sort of things. See, they've even perfected how to pick up a box. That's great. I mean, you sort of think about that's where we are today. That's kind of very Terminator-esque in terms of it. And that's what we've got today in terms of what we're looking at. From a manufacturing logistics viewpoint, we've already known the last few years we've put robots into every area of manufacturing. Logistics, they reckon that they get payback within 195 days. That's 6 months. That means your investment into a robot, you are now making money back on it within 6 months. I bet you it takes you at least 6 months to train a new member of staff. Okay? At least 6 months before they become really profitable for your business. And the ironic thing is, in here is what we've suddenly discovered, is that they never get sick. They never take holiday pay. They can work 24 hours a day. And suddenly you're sort of thinking, if I'm running a business, am I going to employ somebody it's going to take them 6 months to become profitable? They're probably good for about a year, and the next 6 months they're thinking about their next job or how to get a pay rise or whatever else. Or do I go the robotic route? Suddenly we're at this transition of where things are possible.
Hello, can I pick your order, please?
This is not
like
that
fries
far
with
away.
that?
We've now started to see burger flipping robots employed by some fast food chains. We're starting to see it appear in all sorts of areas of life and society. Maybe we'll have a World Cup 2030 because they're already starting to play football. Probably not better than the England team, so it's probably not a bad eye forward. Sex bots. Okay, all right, I promised I wouldn't talk about sex bots. So if you want to find out about them, you can come and talk to me. Okay, we'll move on. The reality is that by 2030, they reckon a third of us are going to have them in our homes by 2030. It'll probably be the second largest purchase after your house. Rather than buying a car, your car will probably be leased or rented anyway, you'll be moving into some kind of robotic home-helping device. And when we think about the Alexas and the phones and all the rest of it, it's already starting. We've got the TVs. You go to CES, and we're about to go to another CES in Las Vegas where they showcase the latest technology. And all the things right now are now got sort of Alexa or Google built in, where you talk to the devices and say, oh, what's the weather and everything else. We've all seen them, but it's built into the televisions, built into the refrigerators, built into vacuum cleaners. It's starting to happen in this world that's moving around very quickly. And this is nothing new. You see, because when I go back to when I started in media, in the creative world, I was using white gloves and felt tip pens. And then suddenly, within a year of my first year of career, they brought in digital. They brought an Apple Mac into the studio. And we were like, okay, what's going to happen? And we changed this world, and we had this new thing called new media. And new media has become digital. And digital is about to become AI. And yes, I am seeing agencies right now are branding themselves as AI agencies, which I'd love to know what they actually are, if anyone can explain to me. But we keep changing the names of how these media companies work. The reality being, as we see these things of change, is the more technology we put in, the more jobs are replaced. And we have predictions right now that suggest anywhere between 30 and 70% of all jobs are going to disappear by 2030. Now, on average, that's about 50%. So if I take the audience and sort of divide them about here, you lot, you need to go and find a new job, because your job's not going to exist. Now, that's crazy. That's a radical statement to think of, but this is the world we're about to shift into because of things like AI. We've seen it before. If I jump back to sort of, say, go back 100 years ago, most of us were working in farms and factories. If I'd come through to today, that's now something less than 10%. So if I'd stood up there 100 years ago and said, hey, in 100 years, 50% of your jobs will have disappeared, we would have gone, oh my gosh, that's crazy. What are we all going to do? But the reality is, less than 5% global unemployment. Humans have an amazing way of adapting and coping with transition and change. And so this is the world we're about to. But you see, going from your great-grandparents to you probably do a radical different job that wasn't even imagined to your grandparents. This is what we're about to go through again, but we're going to do it within potentially 10 years. Things are about to speed up. My job, in terms of what I did, didn't exist 10, 20 years ago, and it probably won't in another 10 years. I'm going to have to continually change. The problem is when I look around the world right now is, can we cope with that degree of change in that time frame? It's all right where generations can change and the new kids are able to change. How are you going to cope with change? How am I going to cope with it? But the question is our technology is more about assisting rather than replacing us. They're going to be able to do the menial tasks, the copying and the pasting and all the stuff in Excel that I absolutely hate. And let me do what I do best. So we're talking about things like the soft skills. We're talking about the things that computers can't do, the creativity, the interesting things that are very unique to human beings. They're the things that are going to become paramount. The old days of, become a lawyer or become an accountant, they're good jobs for life. They are going to be the first ones that are about to disappear.